Present are Deputy Mayor Jamal Beckford, Councilors Lisa McCabe, Reginald Stanford, Guinevere Depot, Minerva Ortiz, Rashad Carter, Finance Director Ron Newhouse, Clerk Deborah Patrick. Excused is Mayor Keith Hedrick.
We're going to go to referral 655. That's department presentations. Economic Development Specialist Patrick.
Okay, good evening. So today we'll have Miranda Creative will give an overview of a brand workshop that we had done earlier in 2019, just giving us some recommendations of what we can do as a municipality to strengthen our brand and carry all of our department's messages and activities forward. So I will let Miranda start.
So good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Hello, and good evening to everyone here. My name is Maria Miranda, and I'm from a brand management firm called Miranda Creative, located in the Norwich Town area. I think first, before I step into the presentation and describe a little bit more about what we do, I think maybe to talk a little bit about why a municipality would seek to do marketing in general. So please forgive my back, everybody, as I try to figure this out. Why a municipality would do marketing in general. And, I think about the number of city council meetings I've attended in my own environment. I'm from the Norwich Town area. And a very common conversation is often about how we need to diversify the tax base, right? How we need to have more variety of individuals and how we look to keep the businesses that we have, to retain them, and to move in that direction. And then often, the dialogue will often sort of stop there, right? Everyone knows we need to do that. Part of the reason municipalities will... Everybody's still working here okay? Excuse me, guys. I have to hold it from the bottom, right?
I actually think it died.
Sorry. Oh, here we go. All right, we're back.
It might be a little bit finicky, but I'll get back.
I will hold it only from the bottom. There we go. So I completely forgot what I was saying. Imagine that. But part of the reason that it's important to think about marketing as a municipality is because we have.
It doesn't go very far.
Sorry.
Everybody does that.
Ron to the rescue.
All intently watchful.
He loves it. It's his favorite.
Well, clearly it's on.
There you go.
Okay. So what was my name again? Okay. So why does a municipality need to market? 3 key factors. One is to seek to invite new relationships, whether it's from the business perspective or the residential perspective. Second is to retain the relationships you have. In my industry, the term for it is confirming the wisdom of your choice, right? Why would you want to stay part of the community that you're part of? And you have a particular challenge for the city of Groton. Do you guys know what that challenge is? No? A very clear brand relationship as to who you are compared to the town and other aspects of confusion as to what Groton is. So you have the normal 2 challenges, and the third challenge is for the clarity of your brand. And that's what we talked about the last couple of months together. Are you my slide person? Thank you. So back in 2019, in this very room, we held a marketing retreat, and it was a very, very engaging dialogue. Who was here with me for the meeting? It was a very engaging dialogue. First of all, you were to be applauded for your team here at the city. They were very, very interested in the conversation. They came forward with ideas and information, and you have some very, very strong opportunities for things to take advantage of as a city. Okay? Again, engage current residents, reinforce and inform current businesses as the wisdom remaining in the city, and attract new residences. Right? So, any questions so far? Okay. Part of what I enjoyed the most about the discussion that we were having together was that everyone wanted to contribute assets or resources to be united in delivery of messages from the city. I've been in other municipal environments, and there was very much a parochial thinking, right? My rec department, my police department, my fire department, and we're only going to present it in the way that we feel reflect the core values of just our one organization, compared combining it together for looking for an element of strength. What might be a common hashtag? What might be shared resources? Your team and your community were already ready to have that discussion, so the rest of it can be a lot easier. Okay? All right. So where do we go from here? Our guiding principles: clarify and protect the city's brand, to retain existing businesses and to welcome new. Of course you want to welcome new. How are they going to know about sites that you have available? How are they going to have an understanding of the clarification between Town of Groton, City Groton? How are they going to be able to know to identify the right resources for being able to develop a path to doing relationships with you? To welcome new arrivals and residences, to convey value among investor and influential audiences. What does that phrase mean? So if there are individuals who are supporting or investing in your community, to convey the value of their decision. If they're sponsoring concerts, right? If you're working together on environments and fundraising efforts, or looking to drive traffic population to an event, what was the impact of their role in the process to have them renew their relationship with you moving forward? And the last one is to positively influence the perception in the media, right? So I'm sure you've all heard about the term perception is a reality. What's especially challenging right now when it comes to media is there isn't necessarily a dominant media in any one area anymore. When I began running the agency about 30 years ago, the home saturation for a daily newspaper was somewhere around 98%. Right? You could assure to share communication, press releases, information would be read by the majority of the population. Take that 98% and now share it across a broad range of medias, social media, paid and unpaid radio or broadcast, right? A variety of media, and elements are that no more than 3 to 4% of any one media is able to reach a population. So as a result, what municipalities need to consider is how are you going to bring together the populations you want to communicate with, and how are you going to be able to reach them efficiently? Okay. Any questions so far? Yes,
I guess,
Councillor.
What did you say was that 98%?
So the daily paper,
Okay, yeah.
30 years ago,
Yeah, yeah.
had a 98% saturation, right? And so media moves and transitions all of the time. So let's talk about some basic recommendations. Okay, so we're talking about the first phase of the process. We want to establish and grow communication channels that the city controls. Establish audience-specific email databases, social media, a secured website with appropriate content for information delivery. Is that clear so far? So, looking at an audience-specific email databases, you have a number of environments within the city that are currently sending out independent emails. How can we combine privacy policies? How can we combine email addresses together and send out one citywide communication? My rec department information, library information, all at one time. So therefore, we start moving ourselves trying to achieve that higher level of saturation, but do so in a very, very efficient and economical way. Create a united presence and process among all City of Groton brands. So universal brand standards, everyone using the same font colors, everyone using the same hashtag, so that a communication that comes out from the rec department is clearly understood to be from the City of Groton. And the same thing with the fire, the police departments, everything is united together. So that again, efficiency and use of resources, it's very, very clear. Not only are you efficiently working together as a municipality, it's also very clear to who's receiving the information, who's talking to them. Okay? Develop an evergreen tagline brand for all City of Groton promotions. We want to test a brand style that speaks to the incoming businesses, the existing businesses, the incoming residents, something that describes your city. Okay? And move in that direction when you feel very good about and will work with for a period of time. And my last element to suggest here is to invest in universal materials that all departments can access. So universal materials includes original images, videos, especially video snippets for use in social media, templates for flyers, things that would be created to develop independence, so the individual departments would have them to work with. Have an existing template for a flyer or an event or a concert, and everything would be united across the entire city. Okay? What I love about investing in universal images, your parks, your quality of life images, that any department would have access to them, and there would be a continuity in how you're presenting yourself. I've seen some situations where your city brand in other websites are showing images that aren't actually from your city, as an example. We kind of want to avoid that, right? You know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay. Enhance the digital content and appearance of the city. So using the existing city and utility website, social media, and retargeted ads. Everyone know what retargeted ads mean? How about back here, guys? What retargeted ads mean? So when an individual visits a web address that's associated with the city, the IP address of that profile is captured. Right? So let's say someone's looking at property and sites within the city. We can be very careful as to who we retarget. We would then send a digital ad out as they go to other web addresses, and they would see a banner ad representing maybe the property that they were looking for a site. So for example, a site developer from their LinkedIn profile looks to see what properties we have available. When they log into LinkedIn, they would see a banner ad representing the property that they were looking at as a reminder to consider and keep top of mind the city environment. Very, very cost effective to do that, and very well targeted compared to taking out a half-page ad in the commercial record, for example. Okay? How am I doing so far? Is it helpful?
Yeah.
I love what I do, can you tell?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. We're looking for a 2-year brand management plan is suggested for us to think about doing this process for over a 24-month cycle. Why over 2 years? It needs to be affordable per year for within the city budget. Okay. We want to look at some measurement elements, monthly blog posts, and other things to keep the messaging consistent out there. And we want to maximize current relationships. If you're not aware, the City of Groton is listed in sector.com and exploremoregroton.com. You're all aware of that? If you look at that content, it may not be exactly accurate for what should be being said about your city. We want to make sure those relationships are solid, and whatever content is out there is accurate, right images, and driving to the right calls to action. Okay. Okay. How are we doing? Any questions so far, everybody? Okay. So, phase 1. The first year of the process. Custom stock photography and enhanced website. Looking at booking a local, as much as possible, I prefer right within the city themselves, photographer, to capture the entire scope of the seasons within the city. We probably would get probably about 100 or so images would come out of those days. They would be high resolution, and they would be all rights and releases. Everybody familiar with that phrase? You can have photographers that pay per use, not the case. We pay for the talent for the day, pay them appropriately, and the materials become our own. It would be what I call a photographic pantry is the term I apply for it, where they could go to a common server, protected server, get the images, and there would also be information that would be tagged on there, so what would be a confirmation of what that location is, and any other tags that should be used to describe that image before it's used in a website, for example. Okay? On the other side of it, if we're doing efforts to drive traffic to our brand, we want to make sure that our current website is enhanced as possible so there's a positive experience. We want to think about the priority of information that's there, and we may want to think about the 3 audiences that I mentioned. Retention and incoming businesses, retention and current residents, and clarification about your city brand compared to any brand confusion. That should be very clear when you come to the website.
I have a question.
Hello. Sorry.
So the stock photography, is that just stills, or are you talking the videos that you were talking about earlier?
Yes. So we're going to be doing stock photography for the phase 1.
Okay.
For the phase 2, we're going to be doing video.
Okay.
However, I have a little secret up my sleeve.
Okay.
Not literally, but it would be that Nowadays, cameras for still photography can also do video snippets,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So let's just say we're taking a nice picture of Ron and I shaking hands. Snap, picture taken, right? Set the camera to a little bit of motion. We take a picture of Ron and I, and we actually see the motion happen, right? And so that little snippet, a GIF, could be used, GIF, could be used in social media and other spaces, but that wouldn't be a full video, okay?
So the UX, are you suggesting we have a UX designer come in and help work with creating the website?
Yes. I would suggest that we look at information delivery, right? So, Lisa, if you knew what that was, do you
Yeah.
have a background in working on sites?
I have several teams of software developers under me. We do have a UX.
Yes, right. So if that resource, anytime there's a resource available within the city for cost savings, I would want to turn to that direction.
Okay.
Right? You might find it want it just to be art direction or graphic support, just brand styles. Yep, we'll work it through together. Okay? Good questions. Anybody else?
The next question, does the delivery of these also include usage guides?
Yes.
Like how you take a photo, scale it, or how you do?
Yes. So a couple of things. That's a very good question. Do you guys hear that question?
Mhm.
It was about usage guides. So when we look to take pictures now, it's almost an unnatural composition that has to happen, right? You know what I'm talking about? The most dominant element in a website is called a hero image. And the image, the key element needs to be in the center. So let's say, Deputy Mayor, we're taking a picture of this entire stage through here. Behind you is a wonderful image. Is that the Nautilus graphic over your shoulder?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Yes, right? So we would want that to stay in the center of the picture so that when it became a tablet view or it became on a phone, that middle image would stay there in the responsive nature. So photographer would get usage guides for how to take the images, and the team members would be given a guide saying, you may really want to move that to the side or crop into it. Don't, because it's going to look pretty foolish on a phone. I may not use the word foolish. Okay, all right? How are we doing?
All right.
Good? Okay. Next. All right, so we go from universal images, a website that makes sense when you visit it, to universal content. So we're looking at preparing. You do many events or activities or things on a regular basis. You'll do another concert as a renewal. We want to start getting the language about those things prepared. And also, what are the strongest unique selling points of your community prepared? And that could then be made into a rack card, a trade show booth pop-up screen, an element of a website, or recorded into aspects of a video. We want to have the universal approved phrase, right? Is it the USS Nautilus or the United States submarine Nautilus, right? We want to make sure we have proper language organized and prepared that we then have just like we have our photos, right? You want to do a story about this concert. Here's the approved picture. Here's the approved text. And it's already organized so that we can send it out to the media. And when it runs, we're not then saying, oh, by the way, you named the park wrong, right? Or you got the sponsor's name wrong. And then next year, we have that already prepared, and then we just update it with the right data information. It becomes efficient every year. Okay? Brand standards, right? Here I am. So brand font colors, font tagline, etc. I'm a very, very passionate advocate of looking at fonts that are universally accessible, highly readable for ADA compliance issues, and able to be easily used by your team. So, you know, the IT community here can help us figure that out, but we want there to be 3 or 4 versions of the font, light, thin, bold, heavy, and everyone has the same thing installed in their computers, because how many of you have opened a file where you have Arial on your computer, but the version of Arial on your computer is different, right? And you're doing a PowerPoint and all of a sudden everything looks wrong. Okay? Not difficult to do, just a process to do. Okay? Next up. Okay, brand management is what I, answering to Mary, do every day. Okay? We go through and we manage this process. The language I just shared with you right now to explain why things get done. We're responsible for identifying, looking for vendors. We're responsible for being answer to Sierra. And we're responsible for making sure that you have measurements that what we're doing is worth the resources you put into it. This is not our first municipality. We've done work with a few other municipalities, but we're not a municipality agency. We care about our local community, and we do work in our local region for this aspect. Okay? Our results will be fulfillment of the outline marketing tasks within the established timeline and a very strict budget. Okay. Questions? Okay. Questions? Okay. Okay. All right. So that is our absolute foundation basics: pictures, text, website, brand standards, and audience building materials, common email addresses, common approaches to social media. We get that done, we can talk about our next year. Okay? Next goals. Stock video. Our goal for our second year is to put together a collection of stock video elements so that anyone could go to the collection, put together a 30-second ad if they want to, a 15-second ad if they want to. More importantly, to contribute up that video to messaging that might be going on behalf of the region. So for example, we go to Advanced Connecticut. Everybody know what Advanced Connecticut is? It used to be called CIRC, and now it's called Advanced Connecticut. We go to them and we say, you're putting together promotional materials for Connecticut. Here's quality images of our community. Here's our requirements for what you need to say about us. We make it easier for them to do that. 2 weeks ago, I was up with Randy Fiveash, office for the Department of Tourism, and I brought together the Mystic Seaport, the Mystic Aquarium, a number of tourism entities in eastern Connecticut, because we know what's going on with our current tourism district. And each one of them was requested to bring to the table links to their directory of photos. So the CT Visit website was made to look more accurate and reflective of what was happening in this community. The same thing should be being done for municipalities, not just for tourism attractions. Videos would be used in that way. Okay, outreach systems. So we could all sit here or stand here and wait for individuals to locate the city, or you could have an outreach kit that would be available to go out to where the market would be. So the annual convention of site finders or development individuals, or even peer organizations, putting together an outreach system kit, which is a very fancy phrase for a quality table drape, a pop-up screen, literature about the city so people know and learn about you. Okay.
What type of trade shows would you go to for a city? I'm just curious.
So it's very, very unexpected. So for example, the Connecticut Restaurant Association's annual meeting. 237 restaurant owners gather, often at Mohegan Center Foxwoods, right? And how are they going to know about the wonderful properties that you have available or the successful area you're building foodies? Yeah, right? See? So you want to think about how to market yourself to environments you're looking to. Okay. Another example would be the amazing event that Sector ran almost about a year ago, which was the Leading the Way, where about 500 businesses that were looking to have relationships with the divisions of electric boat came through. The proximity of a site with you compared to transportation costs from a further distance might cause them to look at you, right? That kind of thing. Make sense? Can I ask them if it makes sense? Yeah, okay. All right. All right, these next two things are actually the frosting that I'm really looking forward to getting to, but we can't get there until we have our pictures, our videos, our words, right? When I mean the frosting, email capture and gathering, right? To facilitate the process and to develop a digital newsletter that would be for your entire community. I'm looking forward to getting to that, because that is going to be a very powerful tool, and you would be one of the first cities I've known to have achieved this. And you can do so because you have such a really robust rec program that has such a great outreach system. You have a lot available to you. You also have the utility, which also has a lot available to be able to move that forward. Okay. Social media advertising. So everyone just bear with me just for a minute about this. Okay. So Social media advertising, people often think about the ads that they see running down the side of a Facebook page, or they think about the ads that they see where it's a boosted event or sponsored content. Is everybody familiar with social media ads? They happen on Facebook, they happen on Instagram, and Facebook and Instagram are one company, by the way. Facebook owns Instagram, WhatsApp, and TikTok, I think they was recently purchased, or Vine, they was recently purchased, okay? So, advertising for a municipality is not about come to our municipality. People are not going to pay attention to that. Advertising for a municipality can be about quality of life, right? So for example, abstractly, right, more shoreline, more things to do, more fun, more books, right, more Groton. And emphasizing what matters to them gets their attention. And also, you can run social media advertising that reflects the profile of the individual. Right? So, I call 2020 the year of the grandparents. Right? Grandparents are very, very influential in what's going on within their grandchildren's lives. Right? We might want to run a series based on the age of the individual that shows an older grandparent with a grandchild enjoying an experience in Groton. And they would see that ad, while the children of that child would see a different ad. And that's what we're thinking about doing on behalf of the municipality, but not until we get our other homework done. Okay? I'm in the home stretch. Sorry if I'm boring you. Okay, brand management is the same process in the first year as it is in the second year. Within 2 years, complete a fully realized kit of materials for the benefit and use of all city teams, independent of any outside resource. So the goal is, by the close of 2 years, we've done all of the work, the material is here, your team is trained on use of the process, and then we step back, and the process moves forward with the talented team you have in place. Okay? And I think that's it. Yes. So what's the next steps from here? So clarity in roles and responsibilities. City of Groton internal team manages communications among the various city leaders and stakeholders, provides direction, and coordinates with us as brand managers. We are responsible for the strategic plan, we execute the tasks, we develop the creative content and strategy, and we manage the vendors to keep them on time and on deliverables. Our vendors are all locally sourced, task-based partners, photography, videography, and printing, and we manage them on your behalf. Okay. A quick side note, just to make sure that we're clear, I convey this to you. Miranda Creative is a triple crown. We are a minority-based enterprise, woman-owned enterprise, and a small business identified entity from the city. From the state. We also have a pre-approved contract for being able to work with municipalities, just so you know that we wouldn't take your time if we weren't ready to do that. Okay, so I think the next steps are pretty clear for phase one. Once the budget is approved, which the internal team is going to review with you, the first step, I'm very clear about that, is I want to establish a measurement systems and verify any partner info. So you should be asking me or anyone involved in this project, how is it going? What are you showing from numbers? How many people have seen the information? What's the status of our investment? Social media account will be the next priority. Then we move into photography, website, universal content, and brand standards. Okay? And that's where we go for our next priorities. Not too bad. 30 minutes, is that okay? All right. All right. Any other questions?
Council?
Just thank you, that was really good.
The helpful?
Thank you.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. The power is yours.
We all set?
Yes,
No. All set. All right. Excellent. Thank you.
Sure. My pleasure, everybody. We'll see you again.
Yes.
Thank you.
Take care. So the next referral is 742. That's Groton Utilities. Director Gade. So the very first item is change order 11. Find it. Yes, that's the action item for change order 11. If you could just provide the council some background on this.
Yes, there's actually two change orders to the filtration project up for today. Neither are PCB related. Both are construction related. The first one has to do with as-found conditions on the sides of Unit 1 and Unit 2. It remove and replace damaged face brick on the exterior walls of Unit 1 and Unit 2 of the water filtration plant. So they actually have to do some additional work to prep the sides of the building for the external rain shield. That's what that change order is.
Okay. Council, any questions? Councilor Depot?
So, what's the reason that this wasn't seen or included in the original contract?
A good portion of the external facade was hidden, and as they took it apart, it started to crumble more and more.
Okay.
It
I'm
was-
just trying to picture what it looks like. So the external facade of the buildings wasn't visible somehow.
The way the brick wall is you've actually got two layers of brick, one in the external and one in the internal,
Okay.
and then there's hollow in the middle.
Okay, so it's the
And as you
internal.
pull it apart, you find more and more stuff in the middle, or nothing,
Okay.
as the case may be. So it becomes a little bit more structurally insecure, or not appropriate to put together again, to be there for another 50 years.
Councilor Safford?
So was this damage caused by RH White Construction Company, or was this building just crumbling as opposed to, and they just noticed it as they were doing the work?
It's actually caused by water filtration over the years. So the water gets into the brick. Because the water gets in there, sometimes it freezes and moves it on the exterior parts. Sometimes it just goes through the middle and it decays the cement. And it was as-found conditions that, in the course of the project, you could say, well, geez, the engineer missed it. But sometimes they really are just guessing as to the extent of the work that has to be done. The second change order is very, very, very similar. It's just in a different, this one's Unit 1 and Unit 2. The other one is Unit 3. So it's a whole other section of the buildings, the older buildings.
Councilor Ortiz?
So if we do this, would there be a chance in the future to go blind like that again? Or if you're fixing it and the water will not get in between
Right.
the two walls?
Well, what they're doing and what they did was they actually repair the cement, and then a new facade's going over it, and a rain shield is being put over that. So the water's being kept away from the structure behind the new facade. The facade isn't structural, it just keeps the rain out and makes it look good again.
Council, are there any other questions?
Was the rain shield something you were already gonna do, and it's the facade underneath that was bad, so the cost is just for fixing the facade? Or is it the rain shield was added because of this damage?
No, the rain shield has always been going over the top,
Okay,
but in order to have it affixed to a good solid
right,
wall,
yeah,
this is the structural work
Yep.
that was done by the masons to make the wall secure again.
okay.
Any other questions? Councilor Ortiz?
So the water will not be able to get to the same spot?
No.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions, comments from the council? All right. I will take a motion to move change order 11 to the March 2nd, 2020 mayor and council meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion, wait. Oh, yeah. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Let's go to change order 12.
This one is almost
Identical?
direct. Me too. Yeah.
Okay.
It's just for unit 3.
Okay. Any questions? I'll take a motion to move change order number 12 to the March 2nd, 2020 Mayor and Council meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any nays? Any abstentions? Motion passes. And then the last item is the Bioxide Solution Odor Control Program. If you could go over that.
Yes.
Yes.
Currently, we use this exact same patented product in the system. However, it's applied manually when the operators smell odors in the system. Also, some of the tanks, we went to refill one of the tanks, and the tank didn't meet, it doesn't meet the current safety standards in order to fill it, so the vendor wouldn't fill the tank for us right now. So we had Evoqua come out, who's the providing vendor, and they offered to apply the system the way it's done in several of the towns around. And the way this is done is they put in wireless sensors into the sewage system that measure the hydrogen sulfide levels, actually bring feedback back to pump sets in the 2 pump stations that we're looking at putting these pump sets and tanks in, which is the Plant Street pump station in the Eastern Point, East Slope pump station. And the hydrogen sulfide will be monitored with feedback going back to the tanks to make it so that it's always controlled. It has multiple effects on the system. The whole hydrogen sulfide actually creates an acidic environment in the piping that destroys the cement pipes. So by doing this, not only does away with the odor, but it also preserves the pipes so that they stop getting destroyed by the acidic environment.
Okay. Councilor Depot?
I know that we've had some complaints about odor. Was it only these 2 plants, these 2 areas that we've had the complaints about?
The way
Because there's another area, right, that for the sewer processing?
The way it works is by feeding the chemicals back in the system at
Okay.
these 2 places far enough, it actually treats and gets through the entire system all the way through to the headworks at the PAF. So the idea is to feed it back far enough and treat as much of the system as possible. They actually did a study for multiple days. They came in for a couple of weeks. They put in sensors. They monitored it to try to figure out the different dosages that would be required. They used the current system that we have to actually dose it and see how it affected and got diluted as it went through the system. So this was done by the company and recommended by the company. The main reason it's coming here is because it's actually a 2-year contract, so it's a longer term commitment. And hopefully by the end of the 2-year contract, we will have learned how to run the system ourselves, and can actually use their feedback system, which is basically cloud-based, to continue to run it into the future, or we could insource the controls and do it ourselves. Depends where we end up at the time. It's tried and true, it's proven, we've used this chemical for quite a few years, and some of the staff are aware of other towns that absolutely use it, so it's universally recommended. The chemical is actually a salt, so it's a non-hazardous salt.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
So it's environmentally friendly, and the way that salt works with the hydrogen sulfate and different things, it ties up the right chemicals so that you're not creating the acid and the hydrogen sulfide that has the odor. If Rick was here, he could dazzle you.
Sure. Sure. Council, any other questions on this item? I will take a motion to move this item, the Bioxide Solution Odor Control Program, to the March 2nd, 2020 Mayor and Council meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions? Any nays? Motion carries. Thank you. We are going to move to 561, the Groton Utilities Financials. Clerk Ulas.
Keep this kind of similar to how we've done it in the past, and again, there's a lot of information in this packet. He does a great job putting it together. So we'll start with page 3, which is the electric division. And this is the year-to-date ending January 31st, 2020. The total electric revenue is just over 28 million with a budget amount of 28.5, which is what, row 19, or 457,000 under budget. And that is truly just due to less kilowatt hours sold in the current year. The budget's based off historical, so just the amount sold is low. That's why that's under budget. If we look at line 41, total operating expenses, year to date, we're just under 30 million with a budget amount of 31.2 million, or 1.2 million under budget as far as when we look at the operating expenses. Go to row 64, which is a net income for extraordinary items. We're at $2 million, just over $2 million with a budget of just under 1.5 million, or 656,000 to the good, as far as where the current net income is of the electric division.
Excellent.
What?
We'll go to page 8, which is again the year-to-date income statement for the water division. Line 17, total water revenue is just under the $6.4 million actual year-to-date with a budget of just over 6.4 million, or 32,000 underneath budget from a revenue standpoint, which is row 17. Row 30, the total operating expenses are year-to-date 5.5 million, 5.6 million, with the budget amount of 6.3 million, or 701,000 under budget.
Any reason why we're like 10? I mean, any reason why we're
It's driven by the operating and maintenance.
right?
You'll see is 689,000. The expense budget, unlike the revenue, is actually done on a monthly basis when the budget's done historically. Expenditures are divided out just
Gotcha.
by the 12 months. So there is some seasonal fluctuations
Sure.
there, and there is some timing issues with it.
Okay.
So if we go to row 44, which is net earnings before the D.W. SRF grant, you see that we're just about 600,000 to the positive, where we budgeted a $481,000 loss, or just over $1 million above budget for that. And the other driver besides the operating and maintenance, like you said, this 689 is row 35, which is the other income and deductions, and that's the interconnect that hasn't been done yet as part of the grant proceeds. So.
All right.
And then if we flip to page 13, the income statement for the sewer, row 15, total sewer revenue. Actual, we're at 2.5 million with a budget of 2.4 million, or 130,000 to the good. Row 26, the total operating expenses, budget of, the actual is 1.5 million with a budget of just under 1.8, or 330,000. And to the positive, again, the operating and maintenance piece is the driver there. Row 37, the net income from operations, is the actual is 943,000 with a budget of 480,000, or again 463,000 to the positive above budgeted.
Excellent. Any questions from the council? All right. The next referral item will be the copier lease agreement, 765. Director Ulas, I think that's you again.
I want to thank Sue Blanchett from IT. She's really been the driver behind the lease copiers and getting this agreement put together. We thought it would, I don't know that it's ever come to the council in the past, just being a a monthly expense with the copiers, but we decided that we would bring it to council because it is a 63-month lease. You can see the monthly amount on the handout from the city side totaled $2,255 per month for the lease agreement, and then on the utilities it's just over $3,000, $3,056. But again, being a 63-month lease and the annual amount being $27,000 for the city and roughly $36,000 for the utility side, we just thought it would be in the best interest to bring it through the process and make you aware of this. There is a non-appropriation rider included, so if for any reason we get to a point where we don't have funds appropriated for it, we can get out of the lease. So it's
Councilor Depot.
So is this showing the difference here? Is that showing the difference in price
that's the difference
to the
from where
new
it
contract?
yeah, from where it currently is. So you'll see there's a $736 per month increase over the prior. What this doesn't include is the overage costs that are incurred, and that's why you'll see the number of copies have changed drastically. We'll take a look at the city offices, for example. The annual color copies went from 28,800 up to 78,000. We're getting hit with an overage for that. So that difference doesn't take into account the overages.
Councilor Depot.
So all of the, okay, I was kind of not getting it before, but, so we're upgrading 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of them. We're getting new ones.
Correct. Out of all these, there's, it looks 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 that are going to be the same copiers that are in place across the entire city, with the rest of them being upgrades.
I was just gonna say, you know, I worked in an office and I worked on these contracts before, and sometimes you get such a better deal upgrading them, and you end up using sometimes less copies because you have less mistakes, because the old ones don't always work properly. So I'm happy that we're getting new equipment if we need new equipment. That's my opinion.
And like I said, I want to thank Sue Blanchett for all the work that she put in on this and going back and forth with the vendor. I mean, this proposal is a lot different than the original one.
Any other questions from the council? Do I have to move this one? Do I have to move this?
Yeah, we just didn't have the resolution put together, so we'll have the resolution for the next meeting.
Okay, so, yeah, I'll take a motion to move this to the March 2nd, 2020 Mayor and Council meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions? Nays? All right, that passes. Where are we on now? Oh, 5. Referral to 690, city budget presentations. Director Uhas.
I handed this out earlier today. Continuously, this is through January 31st. Expenditures year to date in the general fund. Everything is tracking pretty much on normal. You'll see there's some accounts that are significantly below budget for various reasons. Building inspection being one, based on the EV project. Again, same with the building commissions. But other than that, everything else is pretty much on track with year-to-date totals. There's nothing that jumps out.
Any questions from the council?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
I need a motion to go into executive session to include the council and director of planning, Dennis Godere. Oh, there's no Dennis Godere.
My apologies, the director couldn't make it tonight, so.
Okay. I need a motion to adjourn the meeting then.
I so move.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions? Nays? Motion passes. We are adjourned.